Welcome back to the Blush and Bloom podcast, the podcast where we talk all about mindset and becoming the best version of you. I'm your host, Lila, and I'm very happy to have you here. I recently received a request in the Blush and Bloom podcast to make an episode about a topic that we all know and all struggle with, some more and some less. And that topic is overthinking. We all know this situation. It's nighttime, we go to bed, and then we remember a situation from the day, and suddenly we can't stop thinking about that situation. We start analyzing it. What did I look like during this situation? Maybe I should have said things differently. What if the person now thinks that or that way about me? We've all been there, and it's totally natural. But here's the thing, overthinking isn't just a bad habit. It's something that our brain does thinking it's helping us with it, even though it's not. So today we're talking about what overthinking actually is. Like, yes, there is a science behind it, and we're going to be talking about it. Then why we do it, especially as women, and then how we can stop it, especially when it steals our joy. Okay, let's get a little nerdy and scientific for a second because I think it's so interesting to just know the scientific behind things, especially when it comes to psychology, just because I think it's so interesting. And I just think it's always good to have a little education and to learn something new. So get ready to get some new knowledge, unless you're a psychologist and know that already. So, overthinking is when your brain is kind of stuck in the loop of like excessive worrying and just analyzing. And it's like instead of solving a problem, your brain just goes over and over and over it without actually finding a resolution. So, it costs a lot of energy, but nothing really comes out of it. Psychologists call it rumination, and neurologically speaking, when we overthink, we're over activating this one part in our brain, the default mode network, and when it's overreactive, we just dwell and stress on one thing. That's not very helpful. Let's talk about why we overthink. When doing my research, I actually found out that women statistically overthink more than men. And why is actually pretty interesting. It's because of social conditioning. So we are taught to be more emotionally aware, more helpful, just there for people emotionally. Like be polite, consider others' feelings, be thoughtful, which are all great things, but that can lead to like a mental overload. Also, many of us are just perfectionists or people pleasers, and that combination is just throwing us off. But the truth is, overthinking is not a good thing or a superpower. It is actually maybe stopping us more than we think. It just disconnects you from peace and from creativity. Because instead of just doing, you have to think about every step 5 times. And that also just takes the fun out of things. Everything just feels so heavy and stressful to do. Now, luckily, we are listening to a podcast episode right now where we get to know how we can stop this and how we can break free from that excessive thinking. First of all, identify your overthinking. So, whenever you notice that you are overthinking and in this spiral, actively make yourself aware of that. So, say it, say, I'm overthinking right now, and that helps you kind of activate your logical brain and kind of get out of this loop. Next thing is if you actually really need to just overthink for something for a minute, but you don't want to get into that spiral where you just keep thinking about it for the next 5 hours, just set a timer or some kind of like sign to stop overthinking. So, for example, for 5 minutes, or when you're taking a walk until I pass this tree. And then in that moment, you actively try to just think about something else and kind of stop the overthinking for a minute. Now, we all know journaling. Journaling can be great for overthinking. Write down what it is that bothers you, what makes you overthink. That way you just have it on there. You were able to kind of let that go and you just don't keep thinking about the same 5 things over and over and over again. It kind of gives you perspective and just helps you kind of clear out your mind. For all my procrastinators and people distracting themselves out there, this one is for you. Whenever you're caught overthinking, just distract yourself. Go for a walk, get up, play some music. Just do something that doesn't make you think about that one thing. The next one is to think positive. So whenever you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, what if this goes wrong? What could go wrong? What did I do wrong? Think about the positive things. What could go good? What did I do good in that situation? Because thinking positive is just such a big thing. In fact, in psychology class, our teacher told us that it is actually proven that people with a negative mindset are more likely to have a mental illness than people with a positive one. So thinking positive doesn't just romanticize your life, it actually helps your mental well being. So shift from that fear to the possibility, to the chances you see. And something that I always say and keep saying also in this podcast is to maybe, it's not easy to just stop overthinking, of course, otherwise people wouldn't overthink, but think to yourself that it's not that deep, or maybe it is that deep, but maybe it's only that deep for you. Because the thing that we don't realize is we're so self centered that whenever something happens, we feel like, oh my God, these other people are probably thinking about that the entire time. Like, oh my God, I talked to them that way. So they must be thinking that and that and that about me. But I'm sorry, girl, I have to pop your little bubble. You are the main character, but you're not really the main character, you know? So, what I'm trying to say here is that of course, you are important as a person and people care about you, but they don't care that much to keep analyzing what you said. They don't care. After you said what you said, probably there is a high probability that that person is so self centered, like everyone else, that they just immediately go think about themselves or just anything else. They probably do not care about what you said and how you said it as much as you do, just because they're not you. They are not you. And if you're a big, big overthinker that also always overthinks how others speak to you, then okay, you might be thinking, but I do that with other people. Yes, but not everyone overthinks like you, darling. So if that person doesn't overthink to the point like you do, then they might not be thinking about that. I have that very often that someone tells me like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry for talking like that or for saying that or I didn't mean it that way." And then I'm always like, I didn't even realize. I just listened to what you said and just understood what you meant by that message. And then I didn't think about how you said it. I didn't realize that you said it in a mean way because I don't know, I'm just processing that information or whatever. So, as I said, often you are making a bigger thing out of this than it actually is to other people or just in the world in general. And remember that often you just overthink about unnecessary stuff. Okay, so you have a bad grade. Okay, so you wrote down the wrong answer, and after the test, you realized that it was the wrong answer. That doesn't mean that your entire career is over and that you stay jobless and homeless. It's just a point. Like, even if the grade is bad because of that, it's not the end of the world. And also, maybe it's not even wrong. And what you can't even do anything about it. So just move on. So just think about the test for the next 5 minutes. But instead of going out and talking to everyone about what you wrote down when you know exactly that that will lead you spiraling and overthinking, talk about it for 5 minutes and then done. Stop thinking about it. You will see when you get the grade back. No need to stress and overthink over something that you can't change and don't even know what it's going to look like yet. That's just stressing for no reason. We actually had that in school one time that a boy had like this bad grade in a French exam and everyone started spiraling because we didn't get the test back. It was only that boy. And they were all like, oh my God, he didn't have a good grade. That means I won't have a good grade. I need to have a good grade for my final grade. And everyone was just stressing, and it started stressing me out. Like, calm down, you guys. Just wait. Just because that one boy, maybe he had a bad day, maybe he didn't understand what he had to do. Just because he had a bad grade does not mean everyone has a bad grade. And stressing over that is so unnecessary. Just wait until you get the grade because they would have to have waited maximum of 2 hours when we had French class and our teacher handed back the exams. And actually, they turned out fine, the exams. Just keep that chill guy energy. Now, I have a challenge for you to stop overthinking, or when you are overthinking about something right now, or whenever you're catching yourself overthinking and you want to stop it, then do this exercise. And I feel like if you just start doing this exercise, your mindset will kind of shift automatically to that and will probably lead you to overthink less. That is, every time you catch yourself overthinking, I want you to do this simple step. Write down the thought you have. And after you write it down, you try to identify what is that thought. Is it a helpful thought? Is it a thought that is true? Is it a thought that is kind to myself? And when you realize that it is not, you replace it with something that is true or helpful or kind for yourself. So, for example, if you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I embarrassed myself today, you write that thought down and you analyze it and you come to the conclusion that this thought is not helpful nor kind, so you replaced it with I showed up today and I did my best and I went out of my comfort zone. And that is enough. And that way you won't feel as bad about the situation and won't keep thinking I embarrassed myself, but you actually think, you know what, you can be proud of yourself for actually having the courage to do that thing and to even get into the situation where you can get embarrassed and sort of getting out of your comfort zone because that's a big step for your growth and your personality. And that means maybe today it was embarrassing to you, but maybe in a year, things like that won't be embarrassing anymore. And you're growing. Now let's see what you guys said about overthinking in the Blush and Bloom group chat. So the first one is that you should go out of your head and into your body. So move your body, go dancing, go jogging, which is one thing that we talked about with the distracting. I think it's great. I think it just helps you maybe get that feeling out that you have bottled up inside you and just helps you distract yourself. And after that, maybe you'll feel calmer because that's just what you needed, some exercise. Or maybe you were blocked, like something was blocking you, and then you were finally able to kind of let that creativity flow. And then the other person said, gatekeeper. When you get a thought, use the gatekeeper to belittle the thought. And honestly, I didn't know what the gatekeeper was, so I did my research. So basically, the gatekeeper is you, and you're standing in front of a door, and you get to decide who gets to come into the door or what thought gets to come into the door or not. So when a thought pops up, you kind of ask yourself, does that thought belong here? And if you get to the conclusion that that thought does not help me and is negative, you don't let it into the door. You can even kind of visualize yourself just closing that door. Noor said, something that I do when I overthink is going for a walk, journaling about it, or saying it out loud. I have never thought of saying it out loud, but that actually sounds very smart and very cool because you just get it out in the world and you can kind of let go of it, I think, and just let the wind take it. And then last but not least, we have a longer answer. The person said, yes, I have two favorite methods. First one, I think of a specific process in my head. For example, I imagine doing a recipe step by step or try to remember a choreography I once learned, etc. It occupies my head in a way that the thoughts about the other things stop. And once I'm finished with the process in my head, the overthinking thoughts are already further away. The second one, breathing exercises where I focus on the different parts of my body. Super calming. These are both very smart. I have also never thought of these, especially the first one. You're like basically tricking your brain, and that's just the distracting thing that we said, but like a more specific way of doing it. So that's really cool. I'm gonna definitely try that out if I ever catch myself overthinking. And the second one, it's simple, but it's a classic, it's effective, just relaxing by breathing. I love these. So, girl, I know overthinking is not that easy to be stopped, but just remember that it is not helping you, it is stopping you, it is putting you in a box that you don't deserve to be in. And remember that the best version, even the best version of you, is not perfect. She's just present and she's always trying her best. And she is confident. She's not belittling herself with thoughts that are not helping her. She is looking forward and she is learning from her mistakes. Don't pressure yourself into thinking you have to be perfect. No one is. So, if you liked today's episode and you thought it was helpful, share it with other people, comment or review it, or post it on your story and tag me at @that_Lila. And let me know if you're trying the challenge and if it helped you and what thought you were able to identify and let go of. Until next time, bye!